Hey everybody, it's Eric, 80s Horror Man here, and welcome to my end of month haul for the month of January. Now, this haul is actually very impressive, for one, because I did end up using a couple of gift cards. The one gift card I got from my good friend PJ Souls from Christmas last year, and the other is another gift card that my girlfriend ended up getting for her birthday, but she doesn't shop on Amazon, and she decided to give me her gift card. And I asked her if she wanted me to get anything for her with that gift card, and she said, no, use it for yourself. And I just said, okay. So I thought that was actually very nice of her. So in this haul, you're going to see some books I end up buying. You'll end up seeing some upgrades, and also you end up seeing like some Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris movies I end up getting on Blu-ray because I had to work on my Van Damme and Chuck Norris movies in my collection, because the only Chuck Norris movie I have in my collection is Silent Rage. So without further ado, let's get started. First, with a book. This one I ended up getting from Amazon, and I never even thought that they would actually come out with a book to this movie because the movie was fun, and I just figured, why not get the book as well. And the book is The Barn. So yep, they decided to do the book to The Barn from the movie. Yeah, and if you haven't seen The Barn, definitely recommend checking it out. Part 2 is also fun as well. I know they're doing part 3, but I haven't got a chance to contribute to get part 3 for the Indiegogo campaign. But if I don't, then that's okay. I'll just wait for it to get a physical release on DVD and Blu-ray, which is fine with me. So The Barn, I'll be giving this one a read when I get to it. Next, another book I ended up getting from Amazon that they decided to do a movie to. And the movie's going to be 40 years old this year. And they decided to do a book to this, and I had to figure why not get it as well, and that's Reanimator. So Reanimator, very recognizable horror movie that everyone in a horror franchise, that every horror fan is familiar with. So definitely looking forward to reading this one as well, see how that is. Next, another book I ended up getting, and when I saw they had this on Amazon, I had to get this book because this book is from one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's Chopping Mall. Yeah, so who would have thought they would actually come out with the official novelization to this movie, because this movie is so fun, and it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm definitely looking forward to giving this one a read. And it does have pictures in the back of the book, like where it's got like a couple of posters of what the movie looks like, and of course pictures from the film. So with Chopping Mall, the book, definitely looking forward to giving it a read. Another book that I ended up getting from Amazon, I saw this on social media from a page called Bloody Disgusting. Decided to say that they decided to release the novelization to this movie, and I figured, okay, hey, I'll get the book, and that's Terrifier 2. So yep, they decided to do an official novelization book to Terrifier 2. So I'll probably be giving this one a read as well, see how it is. Okay, let's get on to the Blu-rays now. I ended up buying this movie on Blu-ray last night, and it was the last copy they had of this movie. And this movie was just recently in theaters this year. So I figured, why not check out, because I heard this movie is actually supposed to be good, and that's Heretic. Now, this movie's got Hugh Grant in it, and what's actually pretty neat is that when you take it out of its case, it's got like a little scene to the movie, and also on the inside again another scene from the movie. But this thing also came with like some cards, like lobby cards, if you want to call them that, where it's got like random pictures from the movie, and also on the back it's got like sort of an etch drawing of like a map or some shit like that. But I will be giving this movie a watch tonight, see how it is. So hopefully it'll be a good one, because the trailer looks pretty good to it. So I figured, why not get the movie and just finally give it a watch to see how it is, because I wanted to go see this movie in theaters, but I never did. So Heretic, again, I'll be giving this one a watch tonight, see how it is. Okay, next, I also ended up getting this up at Walmart last night as well, and it sucks that they did not have a single Blu-ray release for this movie at all, and I had no choice but to get this movie in a 4K Blu-ray combo. And as you heard me mention in my videos before, that I don't have a 4K player or 4K TV, but I had no choice but to get this in a 4K Blu-ray combo, because they didn't have no single Blu-ray releases at all for this movie. And I did watch this movie in theaters, and I thought it was actually good. And that's Smile 2. Now, Smile 2, I thought again, when I saw the first one in theaters, just like with the second one, I thought it was a little bit creepy and scary, but it was good. Definitely enjoyed it. So if you've seen the first Smile and you haven't seen the second one and you want to see the second one, you know what you're going to be getting yourself into. So definitely check out Smile 2 for those who hasn't seen it. Next, I ended up getting this Blu-ray, and the Walmart did have this movie on DVD, but they didn't have no Blu-ray copies of it, so I had to get this from Amazon. So I ended up using a gift card to get this one. And I heard that this movie is not really that good, because it was put out by Shudder, and the movie I'm talking about is in a violent nature. Now, this movie was just not really that good, because for one, there's no soundtrack to the movie at all whatsoever. No music to this movie at all, because you know what they say, the music is what makes the movie. But another reason why this movie wasn't so good, because it just stayed on a certain scene for too freaking long. Like, stayed on there for about 15 seconds until it moved on to a different scene, and it just was not really that good of a movie. But I will admit that there was some good blood, good gore, and some of the kills was actually very unique. Especially one of the kills was actually very unique, where the girl is like working out on her yoga mat, and she sees the killer coming towards her with a chain with a hook on its end, which is this one he's got in his hand right here. And she runs to the cliff, stops, and the next thing you know, the killer just takes his fist and punches a hole from her back and out the front. Then all of a sudden takes the chain with the hook on its end and sticks it through that open hole, turns her around, takes the hook and just hooks it in the top of her head, turns her around and just starts pulling the chain, and you see her bending her head down it. So basically her head is like going through the open hole that the killer made with his fist. So I thought that kill was actually unique, and I was just like, holy shit, that kill was actually different. That was something new I never seen done in a horror movie before. But again, in violent nature, not really that good of a movie, because again, there's just no soundtrack to the movie at all whatsoever. Next, another movie that I ended up getting from Amazon, and I saw the trailer for this movie. I thought it looked interesting, but after I watched the movie, this movie was okay. It just was not really that intriguing as the trailer made it out to be. And the movie I'm talking about is The Mousetrap. Now, The Mousetrap is where you got some guy wearing a Mickey Mouse mask going on a murderous rampage, terrorizing a group of teens at an arcade area that's trying to throw a surprise party for one of their friends. But again, this movie was okay. It just was not really that intriguing as the trailer made it out to be. Next is an upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and as you heard me mention in my one video the last time, that I bought this movie on DVD, but when I watched it, I get halfway through the movie, all of a sudden it just freezes and it just goes back to the main screen when you turn on your player. But I'm glad I finally got this movie on Blu-ray now that I've watched the whole thing, because I remember seeing this movie like a long time ago, but it's been a while since I've seen it. And I know that when this movie first came out in the early 2000s, it did not do so well in the theaters. And the movie I'm talking about is Fear.com. Now, Fear.com is where you got like people going onto this website called Fear.com, and they see like torture and murder, and then all of a sudden they start hallucinating, seeing things that's not really there, and all of a sudden they just end up killing themselves. So now the detective is trying to find the source of this website, who's running it, and trying to put a stop to it before anyone else watches it. So when I first saw this movie, I didn't mind it. I thought it was actually interesting. So Fear.com, again, it didn't do so well in theaters when it first came out, but I thought it was actually not bad. So I'm glad this movie got a Blu-ray release, because this movie just came out on Blu-ray just last year, back in November. So Fear.com, check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and I was gonna get the Blu-ray, but when I saw that Walmart had this in a 4K Blu-ray combo, but it's also a steelbook as well, so I figured, okay, why not? And that's Drag Me to Hell. Now, Drag Me to Hell is directed by Sam Raimi, the guy who directed the Evil Dead movies and the Spider-Man movies. And right there is the back to the steelbook, and also you got the little cardboard for the little steelbook as well. And when I first saw this movie, I thought this was actually good. I thought that it was interesting, but I thought it was good. I definitely enjoyed it, where a loan officer ends up refusing to give this old woman an extension on her mortgage, and then the old woman does not take too kind to this rejection, so she ends up cursing this loan officer, and now this loan officer has like 3 days to get this curse off of her, because if she doesn't get this curse off of her, then she's gonna get dragged down to hell. So Drag Me to Hell, good movie. Definitely recommend checking out for those who hasn't seen it. Next, another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and that's The Golden Child. Now, this movie has Eddie Murphy in it, and this movie is going to be 40 years old next year when the new year comes. But everyone is familiar with this movie because Eddie Murphy plays like the so-called chosen one to save this boy who's been kidnapped by a cult. So, The Golden Child, everyone is familiar with this movie, and I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this one as well. So check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Next, another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray. And I used to have this movie on tape, then I had the DVD, but then I decided to upgrade to the Blu-ray when it got released on Blu-ray, and I'm glad it did. And the movie is Domestic Disturbance. Now, Domestic Disturbance has John Travolta and Vince Vaughn in it, where John Travolta plays a father who believes his ex-wife and his son are living in a house with a killer. So, this movie was done in the early 2000s, and I I definitely liked it. I thought this was actually good. So, Domestic Disturbance, check it out for those who haven't seen it. Next, this movie came out on Amazon Prime, but then this movie finally decided to get a DVD and Blu-ray release. And it's a sequel to the first one, and that's Coming to America. So this is a sequel to the first Coming to America, where you got the same characters, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, and James Earl Jones in this one. And only this time where Prince Akeem goes back to Queens, New York to find his son that he never knew he actually had. So I thought this movie was okay, but the first one was definitely better though. So if you haven't seen the sequel of Coming to America, check it out if you want. But like I said, the first one was just way better. So I thought this one was alright. Next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray. And I know this movie is more of like a, I guess you want to say like a chick flick kind of a movie, but when I watched it, I just thought it was actually good, so I figured why not get it, because this movie is going to be 30 years old this year, and that's The Bridges of Madison County. And again, when I first saw this movie, I ended up liking it. I thought this was actually good, because I thought Clint Eastwood not only did a good job acting in it, but I thought he also did a good job on directing this movie as well. So, Bridges of Madison County, everyone should be familiar with this movie. Take a drink here, my throat's starting to dry out. Okay, next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray. And I used to have this movie on tape, then I had the DVD, but I also got the book to this one as well. And the movie is called Trapped. Now this one has Charlize Theron and Kevin Bacon in it, where a couple whose daughter gets kidnapped, and the husband's far away. He's on a business trip and he's a doctor. And the wife is being held captive in her own house, and her daughter's been kidnapped. And apparently they hold the daughter for like 24 hours just to get the money that they want. But the thing is, the kidnappers are like in different locations. The kidnapper's wife is on that same business trip that the doctor is on. The guy kidnapper stays with the wife, and the third kidnapper decides to hold the daughter in a different area. So I thought this movie was actually very, very good, because when I first saw this, I thought that it was just so good, and I thought Kevin Bacon did a pretty good job playing the kidnapper. So Trapped, definitely check it out for those who haven't seen it. Next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray. And I used to have this like in a collection where on DVD where it had The Mummy, The Mummy Returns, and The Scorpion King. So you guessed it, The Scorpion King. So finally upgraded that from the DVD to the Blu-ray. And I remember watching this movie a long time ago on VHS, and this movie came out back when I was still in high school at the time. And of course I had to watch it because I was a huge wrestling fan at the time back then, and when I was a little kid, and I still watched it throughout my high school years, and I still watch it to this day. And I just thought that The Rock did a pretty good job in his first full feature length, and I just thought this movie was actually pretty good. So The Scorpion King, definitely check it out. Next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and it's another movie that has The Rock in it, and that's The Rundown. Now, The Rundown, this is like an action comedy kind of thing, because not only you got The Rock in it, but you also got Sean William Scott, who plays Stifler from the American Pie movies, and you also have Christopher Walken in it as well, where The Rock's character plays like a bounty hunter who's supposed to bring back this guy's rebellious son back to the States, but it turns out he's got other plans that he's looking for an artifact that is completely priceless. And these two just run into a whole bunch of craziness and trouble in the jungle. So the rundown, good movie, very funny too. Next, another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and this is actually a remake as well, because this remake came out back in 1998. And the movie I'm talking about is Psycho. Now, Psycho, this one has Vince Vaughn in it, and this movie is almost pretty much similar to the original, but again, I thought the remake was actually good. I definitely end up liking it, even though, as I mentioned, it's kind of almost similar to the original, but I just don't really know which version I end up liking better, the original or the remake, because I mean, I actually end up liking both versions of this movie, because I just thought that this remake was actually good. So, Psycho remake, check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Next, I ended up watching this movie on Tubi, and I thought this movie was actually good, because I really enjoyed this one. And the movie I'm talking about is Death Machine. Now, Death Machine, you got Brad Dourif, who plays the voice of Chucky, where he plays like a deranged employee who gets fired from his job. Then he decides to create this machine that feeds on people's fears, and he also has the machine targeting his former employees at the job that he was just recently fired from. But the machine itself, I thought the machine was actually pretty cool, especially where it's got the chompers on the metal head. And I had to reverse the cover art, because this is the original cover art for the movie Death Machine. And this movie's got like 3 different cuts. There's the US cut, the foreign cut, and the director's cut. So, Death Machine, very fun movie to watch. I definitely recommend checking it out for those who hasn't seen it. Next, another movie I ended up watching on Tubi, and the guy who directed this is the same guy who directed the original Night of the Demons, Endangered Species, and Witchboard. And the movie I'm talking about is Witch Trap. So, Witch Trap is where you got like ghost hunters who's trying to rid the house of a spirit of a mean uncle who's just like terrorizing the house. So now these ghost hunters have to find a way to get rid of this spirit of the mean uncle that is just terrorizing the house. But I thought the cover art's actually pretty neat, where it's like a retro VHS cover, but I also end up reversing the cover on this one as well, because that's the original poster for Witch Trap. But I thought the movie was actually pretty good, and I mean, I thought the music was actually pretty good too. So Witch Trap, definitely check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Okay, now we're going to be going to the Chuck Norris movies that I recently added to my collection. First one I ended up getting, and this movie is also going to be 40 years old next year when the new year comes. And the movie I'm talking about is Firewalker. Not only this one has Chuck Norris in it, but it's also got the late great Louis Gossett Jr. in this one as well, where they play treasure hunters and they're looking for something valuable, and they end up coming across a whole bunch of trouble, like they get in the jungle and everything. But Firewalker, I thought it was actually a good movie. I thought it was actually very interesting, for one, because the person who directed it is the same guy who directed Happy Birthday to Me. So Firewalker, check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Next, another Chuck Norris movie that I end up getting to add to my collection is the Delta Force and Delta Force 2, The Colombian Connection. So Had to get these two on Blu-ray. Hey, because I've only seen these movies like once on DVD, I think. But now that I got them on Blu-ray, now at least I got something new for Chuck Norris to watch, so that way I don't have to keep watching Silent Rage over and over again. Also, another Chuck Norris movie I end up getting is the Missing in Action trilogy, where it's got all three of the Missing in Action movies in one. So we're very glad to have this in my collection now. Another Chuck Norris movie that I end up getting on Blu-ray, and this movie is going to be 40 years old this year, and that's Code of Silence. And the person who directed this one is the same person who directed The Fugitive, Collateral Damage, Under Siege, and Above the Law. So, Code of Silence, good movie. Here. Next, another Chuck Norris movie that I end up getting, and that's Lone Wolf McQuade. So, again, I was like working on my Chuck Norris collection, so that way I could have more Chuck Norris movies in my collection. That way I have something new to watch. And last for the Chuck Norris movies I end up getting to add to my collection is Invasion USA. Now this movie is going to be getting close to be going out of print, so I would definitely recommend getting this movie on Blu-ray or the 4K Blu-ray combo that Screen Factory just recently put out. So Invasion USA, this is also another movie that's going to be 40 years old this year. Definitely check it out for those who hasn't seen this one. Next, there's another upgrade from the DV2 to Blu-ray, and I think I watched the extended version to this movie because I've seen the theatrical version so many times on DVD, and when this movie first came out, I just loved this movie because I just thought this movie was not only good, but I just thought it would be, how cool would it be if you're the only person on Earth and no one else was around and you could just do whatever the hell you want. And the movie I'm talking about is I Am Legend. Now, I Am Legend, it has Will Smith in it, and again, I just loved this movie when this movie first came out, because I just thought how cool would it be if you were the only human survivor on Earth and no one else is around and you could just do whatever the hell you want, because I just thought that was actually pretty cool that you would actually be able to do something like that. So, I Am Legend, good movie to watch. Next, I don't think I would actually be able to get this movie on Blu-ray, and this is actually a very special addition to this movie. And it is a classic, and as I mentioned before, it is an upgrade from the DV2 to Blu-ray, and that's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So, yes, this is actually a very extended, well, not extended, but very special addition to this movie, because there's a lot of stuff that comes in it, where you got like a little book, playing cards, and like lobby cards. And as you can tell, right here is the Blu-ray. Right here is like a little book with like newspaper articles talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, of how well it did in theaters and all that. And of course you also have lobby cards, as I mentioned. And you also have this book where it just talks about out to going through the production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Then you also have like an actual envelope for the patient file where it's got pictures of different characters that's in the movie. Like you got Jack Nicholson as Randall McMurphy, Nurse Ratched, Danny DeVito's character as Martini, the Chief, Brad Dourif, who played the voice of Chucky. This was also Brad Dourif's first movie appearance as well, playing Billy. And you also got Christopher Lloyd as Tabor. So that's it for that. And this right here is the deck of playing cards. And I thought that it was actually pretty neat where they actually decided to do these playing cards for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because if you remember watching the movie, Jack Nicholson had a deck of playing cards, and of course they were playing cards in the mental hospital. So there it is, just your regular basic standard playing cards. And also on the back of these cards is the same picture as you saw on the box and the Blu-ray cover. And also, like if you get like the Ace or King of Hearts or Queen of Diamonds, you got pictures of these characters as you saw on the big cards I just displayed it for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I thought that it was actually pretty neat with all this cool stuff for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Let's see. Put you back in here. Next, another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and that's Walking Tall with The Rock and Johnny Knoxville in it. And this is also a remake from the original Walking Tall, done in the early 70s. So I seen the original, and I thought the original was not bad, but I definitely like the remake a lot better than the original. So Walking Tall with The Rock, good movie. Okay, next is some of the Van Damme movies to add to my collection that I end up getting. One of them not only has him, but it's also got former basketball player Dennis Rodman and Mickey Rourke in it. And that's Double Team. So I used to have this on tape, but I never actually owned this in my collection on VHS or on DVD. So very glad to get this on Blu-ray now. Another one for Van Damme's, again, never had on VHS or on DVD in my collection, and that's Lionheart. So I thought this one was actually a good one as well. Another Van Damme movie, Death Warrant, where he plays like a cop who goes undercover as an inmate to investigate the murder of the inmates. But when he gets there, it turns out he's discovered and not only corrupt guards, but also deals with an old rivalry. So I thought this one was actually very good. Another one to add to the collection, Cyborg. Yeah, and I remember seeing this movie like many times, and I thought this movie was actually good. I definitely ended up enjoying that one. So I think they did a part 2, but I know part 2 does not have Van Damme in it. So I think I would stick with the first one. Next is another upgrade from the DVD to the Blu-ray, and that's Universal Soldier, with not only Van Damme but Dolph Lundgren in it as well. This is a recognizable movie that everyone should be familiar with, and not only this movie was good, but I just thought the fight scene between Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren was a pretty good fight. So definitely recommend checking out Universal Soldier for those who hasn't seen it. Next, I end up finally getting this movie, well, this TV show on Blu-ray, because I've been wanting to get this ever since it came out back in October of last year, but I never did. And I found on the internet and on social media saying that there is not going to be a season 4 to this show, and I was like really bummed out about it. Hit it because I really wanted it to continue so I could see what happens, but it's just like with Ash vs. Evil Dead. They decided to do 3 seasons to it, and they decided to do 3 seasons to this one, and that's Chucky. So this is the 3rd and final season to the series. So again, there's going to be no season 4 to the show, and I was just really bummed out about it. So it sucks, but I'm very glad to finally have this in my collection. So now my TV series of Chucky is complete. And last, for the Blu-rays that I end up getting, I used to have this movie on tape a long time ago, but I just completely forgotten all about this movie. And this movie is like 30 years old this year, and this movie is kind of like underrated, if you want to say, and it's like one of those movies that just like went under the radar, but I figured I'd get this movie on Blu-ray, and because it's been so long. And that movie I'm talking about is The Tie That Binds. Now, this is from the same producers who did The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and this movie is about where you got a childless couple ends up adopting this little girl, and just when you think they find happiness, turns out the girl's natural parents wants her back, because it turns out that the girl's natural parents are actually fugitives and they're wanted for murder. So The Tie That Binds, very good movie. Definitely check it out for those who hasn't seen it. Alright guys, that's it for my haul. I mean, I know, like I said, it was very impressive, and this is like the longest video I've ever done for my channel. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do this in one or do it in 2 parts, but I figured I'd do this in one whole video. So alright, what'd you guys think? Did you like any of the stuff I showed off? Like, did you like any of the books I showed off? Did you like any of the movies I showed off? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Have you seen any of these movies before? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more videos. Later.